I am recording the audio as well, okay? Just so that we're both confirmed. All right. So Tess, we met yesterday and we spoke about your kind of like long-term and short-term online marketing goals. And one of the things that we talked about today, or talked about in terms of what we were going to do today, is I did agree that I would show you the long-term version of a goal. I also agreed that I would kind of explain to you what real estate SEO looks like today, so that you can decide whether or not you want to fit that into your marketing plan, and if you do want to fit it into your marketing plan, how much space do you want to leave for it? All right. Are you in accord that we both were mutually understanding that was something, at least part of what we would talk about today? Okay. So first and foremost, I'm going to pull up a client site. Okay, we also talked about real estate websites and such. I told you there was a very, well, it's a fairly inexpensive real estate website that you can get into for not that much money. I mean, I don't build them for all that much, and even if you didn't use me, then it's literally only a couple $100. Okay, these are effective. This is a very extremely basic site because I have a client that I've been working with for many years, and we've already done this before, so she's not in a super hurry to build up her site and make it look nice, but this is the same template. So the story behind this, just so that you know, is that this client owned a brokerage in Cape May, and she sold that brokerage to Long & Foster. I had been working with her on her original site, the site that you're looking at right now, for probably about 6 years doing SEO. The SEO on this site is still intact. It still gets a ton of visits. And it's still getting between 30 and 50 leads every single month. Oops. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened to my screen. I don't know why that did that. Anyway. And most importantly, at least as far as I'm concerned, the client stopped investing in SEO years ago. In sum total, she probably spent about $7,000 over the span of 3 years, maybe more, maybe 15,000. And for that, she not only got probably, I want to say, 5 years worth of 30 to 50 leads per month. And I don't know how many closes she got, because she was extremely busy at all times and she never did track those numbers for me. But I absolutely positively guarantee you she was closing between 3 and 5 transactions every month off leads developed off her website that she would then go and close. So for me, one of the things that I coach and I counsel, and as an experienced business owner you probably already understand, I try to get all real estate agents into the concept of understanding like outlay versus return in terms of capital. So if you invest X, how much do you think you can receive over time? So in this particular case, we invested $15,000. The average home price in Cape May is about $435,000. So if you calculate the lowest end of what I told you, there's $1.2 million in gross sales being generated off this website over the span of a year, so $12 million or so in total. But let's say I'm all wrong. Let's just say it's $10 million, and her end of that is a 3% commission. So 10 million times 3, or 3%. I don't know what the math is, but it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of a few $100,000. So for her, now you measure that versus a $5,000 outlay, and last but not least, and this is the part that I personally am most passionate about, Tess, when she sold her brokerage to Long & Foster, there was a line item in the brokerage sale that accounted for her digital presence. So she's like the 3rd or 4th most popular website in Cape May, and she could have been number 1, but she never wanted to spend more than $500 or $600 a month in marketing with me. So she just kind of, she's extremely conservative, which is why I use her website as an example, because she's super low end. She is not a high end client. She didn't spend $1 million with me. She's not one of my clients in Beverly Hills. In my opinion, she's on the low end of the average broker. And her temperament is incredibly conservative, like incredibly conservative. She still bids me out on every single quote I ever give her after 6 years of doing business with her. So she's extremely conservative. And so she put a line item in her sale, and she undersold this, by the way, but she got paid $75,000 for her website. So not only did she make the $10 million in sales, $30 million total, plus whatever her commission was off that, and I'm a little uncomfortable talking about that figure because everybody splits their commission differently, but it's probably, even being super conservative, it was probably 2.5%. And I'm just going to do the quick math so that I know what that, right. So $250,000 in gross revenue there, plus $75,000 getting on selling the website. So in sum total, if you look at what SEO delivered her, it was versus a $15,000 cost. So she netted $250,000 or $260,000 after using it for 5 years. Plus, she had the additional brand, and there's no way to calculate what the value. That's the straight up business financial value. But part of the reason she had an offer in the first place from Long & Foster, part of the reason that she was able to be bought out at all, was her branding and how she positioned herself. And at least 30% of that was the web, because she did do traditional branding as well, such as mailers and newspapers and other things. So the web wasn't the only thing, but it was something. The conversion rate on this site is about 3.5%, which is high for a real estate site. That's because the website is so simple and it works really super well on cell phones. If you get a chance, I would recommend that you write down her URL so that you understand what I think an effective website is. And then last but not least, Gail did always follow my advice. I don't really believe that real estate agents should spend a shit ton of money on real estate websites unless they really know what they're doing. So actually, instead of doing what most sales people would do and upsell you on the concept of website, I do the exact opposite. I downsell you. Most people, agents in particular, don't need a fancy website. Now, they do need to own their website, but they don't need to break the bank trying to buy one. And later on, much later on in your career, if you ever decide to be a broker and you want to feed a team of people, or you have felt good about your marketing and you're building your business up, maybe, and this is a big maybe, you'd have to talk to me again, but maybe you want to go for a higher end website because of branding, because of positioning, because of a number of different things. But that is a real heavy-duty maybe, Tess. So please, for the love of God, remember this conversation. Don't get all excited when you get your first big sale and think that you need to blow $5,000 on a website. Because I'm telling you right now, that's usually a waste of money. So having said all that, let's talk about some of the things that we talked about yesterday. And thank you very much for giving me the chance to kind of build some steam into this. So if you are going to build a real estate website and you are going to take a look at using SEO, how do I keep doing that? There's something weird going on with this. And you are going to use SEO as part of your marketing methodology, let's just call it. What does that look like? So, are you comfortable with this topic taking up about 30 to 40% of our time? Okay. Come on, man. All right. So I have a tool here, and it's going to help. It's going to help me explain SEO. Or it's not. Okay. I'm going to move the screen that I'm sharing. I have many monitors here, and for some reason this monitor over here is actually causing me a lot of problems. So I'm going to move our presentation into another monitor, which is why I can't work out of other people's offices. I've got like a really huge setup here, so I can't maneuver my business someplace else. It just doesn't work. I wish it did. Okay. All right. So we're going to enter in this URL. We're going to use the established website, not the new one, because the new one is still fairly, like, it's not really getting any value from the search engines, and I'll explain why. And part of the reason for that, again, as I've already told you, is because this is an incredibly conservative client. She's never, ever, ever, ever in her whole entire life going to spend more than $500 or $600 a month. She just won't. Okay, but this is a site that I had a chance to work on for many years, and even if you have what, in my opinion, in terms of professional SEO services, is a fairly small budget, you can do a lot over time. Okay, so these that you're looking up here are what are called URL and domain values. Okay, a URL is what you're looking at right here. It's Wilsey Realty. A domain is all the sub URLs on the entire domain, like all the, like Wilsey Realty / damn it. It's been a very long time since I've tried to do these this combination of tools. So I used to do like 6 to 7 of these kinds of calls a day, every day, which is why I always tell people that I'm probably, in terms of an online marketing consultant that's actually talked to real estate agents, I'm probably the most experienced consultant in the world, because I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of these calls, and I'm always talking to people exactly like you. I'm talking from everybody to somebody who's just getting into the business to some of the biggest names in real estate in the world. And biggest names is just people that everybody knows. That's the only way I qualify them. It doesn't make them a better real estate agent. It just means that they're better known. So these are, like, all these URLs combined are what equal the domain. Do you see this? Vacation rentals, long-term search. Over here is the total search volume, and over here is the position of this particular client. And last but not least, this tool's estimate of how many visitors are actually hitting the website for this particular URL. Does that all make sense? Okay. So when I click this down arrow, I get another set of numbers. I get the total overall domain rating, the URL rating, and that's all that's relevant for this particular call. So what does that mean? How does that affect SEO? So let's open up one of these pages. SEO these days, so Google has a really simple acronym that attaches to how it's going to place websites. And for the sake of this call and all conversations I ever have with anybody, SEO means placement in Google. The other search engines do still get 9% of the search traffic, but Google gets 91%. So I don't really have conversations with people about anything other than Google. So this right here is a page that is doing fairly well in Google, and it's driving 51 people to the website. So how does Google decide what pages are relevant versus other pages? Okay, why is this page, which is number 19 on the second page, better or worse than other pages for the same keywords? So let's just say, let's take a look at what this page is ranked for. Let's find a keyword where it's not on the first page for anything. How about this one? Okay, so why is this page ranking for Wildwood, New Jersey year-round rentals? So we do the search, put it in the search engine, and we come up with the page. It's or do we come up with the page? That's bizarre. Okay, so that ranking tool is not really there. Did you drop out of the meeting? Okay. Oh, okay, no. All right. Hold on one second. I have to switch the screen again. All right. You there? Can you see my mouse now? All right. I apologize for that. Okay. So this right here is actually about number 19, but here it is. Long-term rental search like Wilsey Realty. All right, so I need you to, there's an acronym that Google uses, which is Expertise, Authority, and Trust. Okay, it's called EAT, Expertise, Authority, and Trust. That's what they're looking for. How do they decide what expertise, authority, and trust really are? I am only going to cover the most important points. If you listen to these points, you will have down about 50% of SEO. The other 50% is really complex because Google actually looks at about 200 to 300 factors when it hits a page and decides how to rank you versus other pages. One of the factors that they look at that is super, it's like 18 to 19% of the total overall factors, is they look at audience participation. It's how they decide about expertise, authority, and trust. They have a lot of tools at this point. They have Google Chrome. They have Google Analytics. They have a whole bunch of tools, probably more than you realize. Every single time that you accept the terms and conditions of one of these tools, you are actually accepting that they collect data. That data includes how long it took you to find the page that you wanted when you look at a search result, who you clicked on, how long you stayed on the site that you arrived to, and how many pages did you look at. So that's how Google is measuring expertise, authority, and trust. It's through user experience. And they have so many ways of identifying what user experience is right now, it's ridiculous. They also have proprietary technology. So for instance, Facebook doesn't allow them to read Facebook pages, but Facebook can't stop them from recording a visit that goes from Facebook to someplace else. And Google can tell that the destination site or the site that you were traveling from is Facebook. So even though they can't get Facebook statistics, they can actually get Facebook signals that say that you have, let's say, a successful Facebook page. Like if they see 20 people arriving to Google Analytics or to Google, like to a website, and these people are coming from Facebook, that then allows Google to know that you have some kind of presence on Facebook. All of these things, your social presence, how long people stay on your website, they are things that Google is measuring to go to that acronym of expertise, authority, and trust. What does that mean to you as a real estate agent? That means a handful of things. One, you want to be cognizant of the signals that you're leaving online. And all of this plays into SEO. I am not off topic at all. You want to be cognizant of what you are telling Google when you go online. You want to say, for instance, when you're establishing your local real estate business, you want to make sure that you sign up for a whole bunch of directory sites that identify your business and its location. That is a big one for Google deciding what a local business truly is. Okay, another thing that happens when you do that is, so I do a search like Google Van Nuys Realtor. Here's what Google does, and this is why the local stuff is important. They take this search, and since I've included a location, Van Nuys, and Google has collected a lot of data about me through Chrome and other places. They don't even have to ask if it's another Van Nuys in another place. They already know I'm in California. So they serve up the data that they feel is most relevant. This happens with everybody. This that you're looking at, the map, these little things right here, this is what is referred to as a hyperlocal search packet. That is the technical name for what you're looking at. It's called a hyperlocal search packet. It is part of the Expertise, Authority, Trust acronym I gave you. Here's how Google is viewing it. If you have your business listed in the white pages, the yellow pages, on Yelp, on Foursquare, on Active Rain, every single one of these websites has something that says, give us your location, give us your street address, give us your name. If you fill all that stuff out and all the information corresponds to one another, that is what Google considers to be a citation. A citation, because Google is just, like, it's filled with mathematicians. And while I love mathematicians, they need to be super exact. And sometimes being super exact is super confusing for people that are not part of the search world. So a citation just means, it's a fancy way of saying, we have a website that lists your business address, telephone number, and location. That's it. That's all a citation is. So Google says you have a citation somewhere. Let's say you have 100 citations and another business has 50 citations. And your 100 citations are coming from directory websites that Google thinks are credible, such as Yahoo Business and Foursquare and all these other places, Manta. There's all sorts. There's literally hundreds of these directory sites on the web, and they are all reputable because they catalog and categorize businesses, and that's a big deal on the web. So the more of these citations that you have, the more credible that Google thinks that you are, because again, they're looking for expertise, authority, and trust. The next thing that they look at, and they apply this to your SEO score, whether they're going to rank you, how fast they're going to rank you, they look for reviews, and preferably ones on Google. Okay, so they're looking at how many people have said something good about you. Now, if they can't find anything on Google, they will accept reviews from Facebook because they auto-populate. Google and Facebook do have an agreement that says that Facebook reviews auto-populate into Google search results. So Google can count the reviews there, but they prefer the reviews on their own platform because they can control quality. So most people, when doing a search for realtors, never get down into these other searches down here. The reason that they never get down here is because they already know that they can find Realtor.com and Yelp and Zillow anywhere they want on Google. That's not a problem for them. What they don't get is the hyper-local results that is Martinez Lopez Realtor. So if they're doing a hyper-local like search in the first place, they're not looking for Zillow or Trulia. They're looking for you. They're looking for the agent themselves. They want to see who these people are and where they are, because Google has already trained us about what a hyperlocal search result looks like. Every single person that has a cell phone is using it. Like, if they're doing this search, they already know they want to find a person or a business. They don't want to find Zillow or Trulia. They would do another search to do that. And now look at how important reviews are. Like, are you really going to call Pacific West Real Estate? No, because you're looking on a map. You're probably going to call IMT, or you're going to click on that and see who they are at least. So these reviews are incredibly important. They're important for your SEO ranking. They're important for everything. And people overlook them, especially in real estate. So even if you, like, as part of your strategy is you're formulating how you're going to get out and represent real estate, I strongly suggest that you develop a pattern. Like I have a pattern, and Eric has a pattern. But train yourself, condition yourself to look for certain things. If you get stuck driving around non-qualified buyers for some reason in a car, do not look at that as a lost opportunity. Use those relationships, leverage them, and get them to leave you reviews. They don't have to lie. Just say, hey, did you am I helpful? Am I professional? Are you getting to see the homes that you want to see? If the answer to all these questions are yes, give them, like, email them and follow up with them and get them to leave you a review, because that will rank you, that will put you in front of other people And then some of those people will have money. So that person that didn't have any money, that was wasting your time and gas, is actually not wasting your time and gas. They are actually delivering something of value if you can get them to do the review. So if I was you and I'm the real estate salesperson, the second I identify, oh, you can't buy a home from me, but you can do something else. And it honestly, it's hard to say which is more valuable. Because over time, get ranking in Google, it's going to make you tens of thousands of dollars. Or more. Millions, maybe. So, who's to say what's more valuable? So there's that. So then, okay, so that's the local stuff. So you list yourselves in directories, and that is part of having a website, like building your WordPress website, and then you put it online, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The next, well, actually, I suppose, let's say, you can do all of this without a website. The stuff that I'm talking about local, you can just build out a Google Plus page. You do not need a website, Tess. You can do this entire strategy, including these hyperlocal search results, with what's called a Google Plus profile. And that's free. If you want to spend zero money, and maybe that is the best idea for you, what you want to do is you just want to create a Google Plus profile for your business. You want to make it a My Business page. And then, once you've done that, you want to collect those reviews for sure on Google. And the beautiful part about a My Business page is that you just simply get to add a website later. So notice how some of these don't have a website? Like, see this thing? That just means that Trimax doesn't have a website. Or they're not listing one. But it doesn't mean that they don't get to be on Google. So you don't even need to invest a single penny into having a website in order to start practicing SEO. You can develop a reputation for yourself with expertise, authority, and trust. And what that means to you is that when you do put a website up on the web, you're going to get ranked a lot faster. Google does look at usage of Google Plus, and does look at how long you've been there, and does look at your Facebook page, and does decide based on how the length of time that you've been online, how credible you are. So please don't think or slow yourself down just because you don't happen to have a website, or maybe you don't plan to have a website. That's fine. You can still start building your credibility with Google right now, today. And I strongly recommend that be one of the things that you add into your strategy. The only question is that you don't want to start building out a whole bunch of directories until you're certain about your location, which I already talked to you about. You don't want to do that. You can build your Google Plus page because you can very simply change the address on this one page. You cannot so simply change the address on all the directories. And the horrible part about this local marketing stuff that I'm showing you is that if you kind of change your strategy midstream, you quite literally have to go back to all the directories that you submitted your information into and redo it. And it's a major pain in the ass. And it can cost you a lot of money. Like if you hired a guy to do it in the first place, like I charge about $500 to $1,000 to go and get 50 directories and build them out the right way. Because every single one of these, you have to fill out the profile with all this information. And usually there's some support pages like, tell us a little bit about your business, tell us a little bit about you. So really you're actually writing like a couple thousand words of dialogue when you're doing 50 directories. And it takes a lot longer than people realize to do all of those directories correctly, because Google does look at all that. Not only are you listed in those directories, but does it appear to be a complete listing? And that affects your credibility as well. So, yep, absolutely, 100%. That's what you've given up your right to privacy the moment that you decided to be a real estate agent. Because the real estate, look at what Gail does. This is her first and last name. Her first business was called Wilsey Realty, and it was a brokerage. Now Gail is working for herself. She doesn't have a team anymore. She sold her team and everything else to Long & Foster. So she doesn't, and she has a non-compete with them, but she is an agent of Long & Foster, which was also part of her agreement. So now she's just selling homes herself. See, so you will always be in that position. And her name is branded. She has spent a lot of years branding her name. Okay, so let's see here. So that's the I've given you a couple strategies, one with the website, one without, but let's continue down the road and say that you do want a website, and let's continue with the example of SEO. All right, so now you've got the local stuff down. All right, all of your 50 directories are filled out, and you've built yourself a very simple real estate website. Now what do you do? Like how do you decide that, expertise and authority, like how does expertise and authority look to you now that you've done all this other stuff? Okay, so now what happens is you need to start blogging, which is what we talked about. Your website needs to be set up correctly. You need pages. The pages need to have some content on them. You need to have decided what your niche market is, okay? Like where you're gonna represent yourself. These are pages that I've built for my client. Okay, this was my first effort doing it myself. I'm not necessarily proud of all these pages. Some are better than others. But the reason I built the pages out this way is so that the pages can be what's called sticky. In other words, these pages are going to attract somebody's attention. And the reason that they're going to attract somebody's attention is there's a lot of data on the page. So people, if they're interested in this data, they have to stop and read it. And the reason that that's important, Tess, is it sends a signal of expertise, authority, and trust to Google. The longer that you're on the page is the more relevant Google is going to believe the page is. Does that make sense? So we want video on the page. We want images on the page. The reason we want these things on the page is because typically, not in every case, but most cases, people spend a longer time on that kind of content and they're more engaged. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into this, but the truth is that people learn better. Most people are visual and auditory learners, which means that you engage both images and sound, and that most of the time is how people truly learn. So if you can get in front of a camera every once in a while or learn how to do a screen share and throw some of this up on pages on your website, that's going to be really powerful for you. And very few real estate agents do it. But you're young and you understand how the web works, so you might change the script and start thinking about like personal interaction with your audience, even on what would be considered to be standard like MLS search results pages like this. Because here's properties. Dig through your memory and try to figure out how many times have you seen a real estate website where there's like an image of the realtor talking about the area. And if you've seen it at all, you tell me, because I've never seen it. So that's certainly I've just given you an idea right there. And that can build, like coming out of the box and thinking about something like a very similar information product, but trying to do it a slightly different way. That's how you make $1 million on the web. It's not, don't try and reinvent the wheel. Just try to improve it just a teeny tiny little bit. And if you can do that, you're going to do really well. Well, there's a lot of different variables to that particular answer. So, number one, it's the profession itself. So, the money in this country is dominated by people that are 50 to 75. That's the age group. That age group is more resistant to technology, which means that real estate agents who are selling to that group of people have not experienced the information revolution in the way that most of us have, because many of their clients still pick up a newspaper. Many of their clients still actually respond to what are really old school methods of marketing. If you're talking about here in California, Tess, The percentage of people that are homeowners that are under 45 is staggeringly small. Like, it's something ridiculous, like 13%, which means that your market is almost completely dominated by older people. And they have not integrated technology the way that you and I have. So, but having said that, that is changing rapidly. Like, the average age of a user on Facebook has been increasing in age for a long time, and now it's something ridiculous. Something like people who are over 65, something like 50 to 60% of them are now on Facebook. So the numbers have slowly changed. So don't be fooled. You can get to your older, richer market online now. But you asked me the question of why do I think that, like, technology has been a little slower to adapt, and the reason is that the market itself was slower to adapt. Now you've got yourself a blog. What do you do then? Okay, so a percentage of this, like a really, 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 really big percentage, is deciding what your niche market is. Now, for my client Gail, it's Cape May. She only wants to be selling in Cape May. Cape May is not that big. It's a city in New Jersey, and Cape May is fairly small. So she really dials in, and she does have a vertical. And by the way, Tess, I don't like. It doesn't come up that often. People are not, like, don't ask the question nearly enough. But if you want to ask me, like, 90% of the campaigns that I've seen online that have been successful in real estate are people who have niches, and everybody else fails. So the numbers are staggering. Every single one of my clients that I have right now, like all the people that do business with me and still spend money with me, are niche real estate people. Nostalgic Homes, which is a client of mine, they specialize in Highlands in Denver. They specialize in a single city. They do 80% of their business there in a single city in Denver, and they're a brokerage that has 25 to 50 people. They do 80% of the transactions in the city. People don't understand that the power of math would blow your mind. Like, if you did 80% of the transactions in Mount Olympus, you'd be doing $100 to $200 million in real estate sales every year. So do not be fooled by this glorious concept of specializing in this vast demographic. It will not work online. If you want to present yourself that way in person to people, by all means do it. Just don't make the mistake of confusing a traditional approach, a belly-to-belly, a hand-to-hand approach, with the approach that you should be taking online, because they need to be different. You can go ahead and specialize, like, say that you work the entire East End when you're in person, if you want to. But you cannot do that when you're online. This client, like, you can list the cities on your website, but when we start blogging, we're going to be blogging about a very specific demographic. Does that make sense? And that should be your marketing plan, by the way. I'm not saying that you can't break out or do other things, but you need to focus on one place first and then move on. Because by the time, if you dominate a zip code, Tess, your money's going to be there. Then you're going to be in the position of being a small business owner with marketing dollars to invest, and your decision is going to have to be, where do I want to expand to? That's going to be the conversation. And that's the only time you should be having the conversation for non-specialization, is when your market is established, everybody knows you, you feel like you're getting about as, your market penetration is about as deep as it's going to get. You think you get as many calls as you're going to get from that particular area. And now it's time to move on, because you as a business owner, you're not done. Like, you want more volume, you want more sales, you want more revenue, you want to grow your business. So now you move someplace else. Let's see here. So when you do establish your blog, you're gonna stick with the lifestyle. Now, Christoph has moved out. He's built an entire team. He has a team of like 15, 16 people. But when I started doing business with him, he was just a single agent in real estate, like in Beverly Hills. So this is Christoph Chu. This is his website. Using the same tool with Ahrefs. Christoph is a really big deal. He's also... He's one of the top performing agents in the country, and honestly, he's one of the best agents on the web. He makes... Okay. So, he's, let's see here. It's Christoph 2. I've already done that. So now we go here. Now you're going to see something worth seeing. Now here's a guy who's really done some deep pocket investing. He's done it in a very smart way. He doesn't invest in SEO, and that's actually a mistake. He is not omniscient, but he does make some big investments in web content. He spent a lot of money on the video that's on his homepage. Like this video that you're looking at, he contracted with a helicopter. He actually went out, filmed from the air, and did this, like, hired professional film crews. And this video has, I don't know, 1 million, 2 million views. It drives a ton of traffic to his website. Most of his traffic is not coming from the traditional search engine. So you're looking here. This says he gets 6,000, 400,000 visits. My guess is that he gets 30 or 40,000 per month. Okay, and then his number one search term is mansions for sale. And he's number 6. And that's globally. Globally, not locally. So Christoph wants to be first on the search engine for anybody who's searching for a mansion. Because he knows already that something like 40 or 50% of the people in the world, Beverly Hills has such a strong brand that anybody, like almost anybody, wants to live there. So that's why. And then you start looking down here, and he's branded Holmby Hills, Bel Air. We don't need to guess about what he's targeting. We can just, with a simple analytics tool, we can find out. Beverly Park, Hollywood Hills. So, and these are his positions. So anything in the top 10, which most of these are, he's on the first page. And it just keeps going. Right. So this is a good example. If you want to start, like, taking some notes, creating a business plan, a long-term thought process, this isn't such a bad way to go. But his website is terrible. Don't repeat his mistakes with his website. So everything else, though, is really good. I wonder what that is. Okay. No, I gave you that solution yesterday, which is you buy a P.O. box that's not going to make you say that it's a P.O. box, so you might have to place a few calls, find some place in the market that you're targeting, and then what you do is you add to your credibility by saying, I have more than one office. If you want to meet with me, we're going to meet in my office in Beverly Hills. That's it. That's it. That's the whole strategy right there. And nobody, like, because your core office is in such an amazing area, this strategy actually works better for you. Like, this is a better solution. You're not losing anything here. You're not losing anything online, and it's going to make sense to Google when we say you have more than one location. And if for some reason somebody's, like, leaving you reviews and talking about Beverly Hills, but you know, you're trying to target the other thing, we'll kind of deal with that when we come across it. But still, it makes you look more reputable that you have more than one office and that your core office is in Beverly Hills. Does that make sense? And then the best part is, Tess, is that in terms of content creation, which, by the way, I strongly suggest, because I don't know what your circumstances are. I don't know what Gotham's circumstances are. But you know what? Here's what I know about business. It changes and changes rapidly. If it's me as a business owner, I'm going to get all my content filmed in Gotham right now. I'm not going to assume that their office circumstances is going to remain the same. So I'm going to take all of my branded content and get it done as quickly as possible. And I, by the way, have been living this. I've already got the guys doing, I've gotten testimonials from them. I filmed my first talk there. We do plan to keep being involved with one another, but if for some reason they call me tomorrow and say, Robert, we never want you in the office, I've already got what I need. Like, so, you know, you want to do the same thing. I'm a really experienced entrepreneur, and I am not usually in business to make a ton of money. I just like being in business for myself. That's the reason I do it. So I work twice as hard as anybody I know. I do not make twice as much. Now I could change that, but there's things about money that really bother me, and that's a personal thing. It's not a reflection on anybody else. It's my own issues. So I'm gonna say that my experience in business, though, is you really need to carefully look at what other people's motivation is, which is what Eric was talking about last night. And honestly, the best way to protect yourself is just get what you need, get what you need for your business, and do it now. Don't wait, don't procrastinate, just do it now. You've got yourself an amazing circumstance. I'm assuming that you've paid the $3,600 to get yourself to be a brokerage. Don't assume they're going to be in business for a year. I assume that they are. I mean, I'm guessing that they are. I'm not assuming they are, but I am guessing that they are. But and I'm not trying to tell you that they won't be. I am trying to say, however, like, I've been around the block enough times to understand that making assumptions is in every avenue of life is a terrible fucking idea. So just, you know, take control of what you can take control of, and you'll end up having a habit that you really can bank on throughout the course of your life. Like, just get the shit that you need, film yourself at your desk, you know, get yourself with a couple people, kind of like find an office, you know, make sure that you're alone in it, you know, say, hey, these are my offices, build up your personal branding image with content, do it right now, and that way we can use it later whenever you're ready to do it. Next, the blog. Okay, so when you do, and if you do start to invest in yourself, and you're trying to take the what I call a guerrilla marketing tactics. Let's say that you are a person that's motivated but you have no money, or you don't want to spend money. You have plenty of money but you don't want to spend it. And most experienced people, business people, are going to be in the latter category. They have some money, they don't want to spend it. So you want to choose a marketing methodology that you can do as close to as possible as free. That's going to be blogging. There is no doubt. Like, you want something that you can do that you really just need your motivation and your time, and that's it. Blogging. That's it. I'm telling you. Blogging. So if you're going to learn how to blog, there's a couple of resources that you can go to. Moz and Neil Patel. I'm not going to overwhelm you with choices. These two websites, just these two, will turn you into an expert blogger. Don't accept their fucking salesy things. Okay, Neil Patel's... Who? I know when I started my career in marketing, and I was trying to grow my... Well, he's the world's most famous online marketer. Yeah, and he's really, 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 really good. And Moz is the world's most famous SEO education website. And both of them give out 90% of their information for free. You can, no joke, teach yourself how to be a world-class professional blogger without ever spending a penny. And you can do it on using these two websites. Don't buy these guys' software tool until you're much farther down your career, because it's not the best in my opinion. But do follow everything that Neil Patel says. He gives away more information than anybody else I know of, and he has one other website called QuickSprout. And between the two, you can truly learn anything that you want. The other one, Yeah, it's Neil Patel. and Moz, moz.com, and then last but not least, it's QuickSprout. I do use QuickSprout more than I use any other website. This one. Okay, QuickSprout, like, he's letting some of his guides get a little old, but when you click on blog right here, you get into this page, and when you scroll down, this stuff, these guides, which are all free, you just have to give me your email address. They're the best guides that I've ever found. They are literally step by step, do this, next, do this, next, do this, next, do this. If you actually read them, you will become a super high performing professional. But, and this is the, nothing in life is easy or free. And this particular thing, if you decide to go this route, the sad news is that becoming a really, really good blogger, it's not fast. It's not easy. You do have to invest a lot of time. It's going to take you, I usually estimate just the learning curve part to be 160 hours. So if you dropped everything else you were doing, spent all day, every day, you could probably be a professional. Like you could produce some high quality SEO friendly blog posts in about 6 weeks, but doing it full time. So it's not necessarily the fastest or easiest, which is why, by the way, I'm cutting to places that you get the education, because there is no way under any conceptual place that I could teach you or educate you in any way that's meaningful in a single consultation. What I can do is I can point you in the direction of the right resources, and then if you're motivated, you'll use them. Christoph doesn't blog, but he does produce more socially relevant content than any other real estate professional I've ever seen. He does lots of Instagram videos and little blurbs on Facebook, and his activity on his various pages is insane. Not so much on Instagram, as I was pointed out to you last night, but Facebook and the traditional methods, yes. And look at his reviews. 11 Google reviews, 5 Zillow reviews. This is a guy that focuses on both lifestyle and he does, and he is a pro. Like, he doesn't do a lot of shit right, like a lot of it. But see, what he does do, which is what I told him to do a long time ago, and he has taken it to heart and done it like nobody else I've ever coached. But when I got a hold of him, he had no presence anywhere. And now, like, his Christoph Chu, he has 109 reviews here. 109. So 9,004 likes. 1,659 people have been here. And he didn't buy any of these likes. These are not fake likes or bot likes. These are people that know him, have seen his videos. Like, he has done great branding work here. And look at the pictures he posts. Like, when you come here, you're going to see mansions. And you're gonna get a really strong understanding of the lifestyle that he represents. And, like, look at this. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of top domains that have been released recently, like dot realtor is one of them. All right, so the truth is that what they're referred to as what's called a top level domain. That means that the people that put out the domains have already said that they are just as important as .com. But here is what's not true. The technology companies that matter haven't figured out a way to calculate all those URLs yet. So in other words, Google hasn't caught up to the technology of saying that .la is as important as .com. Because for them, .la websites have not been proven enough. So in terms of the reason that these domains have not caught on, there's not a ton of them being sold, not a lot of people using them, and the reason is simple. Because all the companies that kind of sort through the web and direct people places haven't figured out what to do with them yet. And until they do, they're not incredibly valuable to you. Now, you can buy one, and it might be good. Like, it might not be such a bad idea to get the .la version of the domain that you're looking at. But you have to understand that you're going to be a somewhat aggressive and risky maneuver if you decide to build a website and do all the work that you have on it. We might at some point need to circle back around and buy .com. Does that make sense? Right. So here's an interesting thing. So Coldwell Banker has been getting unbranded out of Beverly Hills. Christoph has been instrumental into trying to get them to rebrand themselves, because the agency e.r.y, Rodeo Realty, there's any number of local brands that basically have a stronger, Hilton and Highland, they all have stronger brand names and stronger recognition than Coldwell Banker does in the LA area. So how is Christoph trying to leverage that? He is taking his own social media presence and he's attaching it to the Coldwell Banker name, because Christoph's doing all this social media crap on his own. The $1 million listing thing that he's now the star for, or no, it's not $1 million. It's HGTV's $1 Million Homes or something like that. He's on TV now. He engineered that. He did. So he's been literally and by himself kind of bringing Coldwell Banker into the right type of branding in order to try to sell these homes, because all of the people that are selling these mansions, except for Christoph, belong to other brokerages, which is another reason why I admire him, because he could have and he probably should have bailed, but he didn't. He stayed with Coldwell Banker, and now I think he's trying single-handedly to rebrand their LA division so that they can compete with these types of homes specifically. Yeah, he's a hell of a guy. Anyway, let's see here. So I think I've covered all the instrumental points, or all the really super broad points, and we're coming to the end of an hour. So I have a question for you at this point in our call. Do you feel like the information that I have provided you is valuable? Do you feel like you'll use it at some point? Some of it, parts of it, or all of it? Okay. So then the question that I'm going to ask you now is, as I've mentioned from the very start, this call and everything that we've done, I don't charge anything for it. I do ask a favor, though, and here's the favor. Do you think that all of the value that I've provided for you is worth 10 minutes of your time outside of this call? Okay. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to send you a follow-up email, and that email is going to list a couple of places that I need reviews. Okay, I need reviews on my social channels. My number one social channel that I need reviews on is my Google business page. I only have one review there, and I need them desperately. So if you really feel like I provided a good amount of value for you in this consultation call, I would greatly appreciate it if you would travel to that page and essentially say, I just received a consultation from Robert Newman. I found it to be very valuable. I will probably use much, if not most, of the information that he gave me. If anybody else has a chance to talk to him, you should do it. Excellent. Well, I'm extremely excited and humbled that I've managed to teach you something in comparison to whatever it is that you already knew through your interaction with your partner. But I'm going to send you that email, and if I would be really, really grateful if you could help me out. Do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask me before we end the call? Okay. So another thing that I will do, I may take it down at some point, but I am going to send you a link to the video that I recorded. I think I recorded it at least. I will have to check. But assuming that the recording actually happened, and it does seem to still be going, I'm going to send you a link to it. So if you want to come back and refer to the recording yourself, you can. And you can kind of just run through the call and hopefully recapture some value in case it was just too much all at once. Absolutely. All right, Tess. Listen, have a great day, and I'm sure I'm gonna be seeing you again. By the way, I'll be back in the office at some point. So, right. So we'll see each other soon. Bye.